All right, so in this short little video, what I want to do is teach you how to use a protractor, which is this little tool right here, to measure angles. Now this is really for beginners. It's going to be very basic stuff that I'm talking about here. So some prior knowledge that's needed is to talk about different types of angles. So you have a right angle, and a right angle, this angle right here is exactly 90 degrees, exactly 90 degrees. Then from there, you have two other angles to consider. Is that you have an acute angle, which is really less than a right angle. An acute angle is anywhere from more than 0 to less than 90. And an obtuse angle is anything more than 90, but less than 180. So, of course, the way that's always taught is that acute angle is a cute little angle. It's a small little angle, and obtuse is a big obtuse angle. So that's the main thing to know on this. And hopefully you have that, but if you don't, you may want to review this a little bit more. Right angle is exactly 90, acute is less than that, and obtuse is bigger than this. As I look at this angle right here, this is going to be the first angle that we're going to measure. And the first question I ask myself before I even put this protractor on here is, what type of angle is this? Is it right? Or does it appear to be right? Does it appear to be acute? Or does it appear to be obtuse? Now, at these, okay, it's not right. It's going to be one of these two. So the first question is, which one of these does this angle look like? And yep, it's an acute angle. Because just by its appearance, I can look at this angle and I can tell this is less than 90. So this is an acute angle. Okay, talking about this right here, this angle. So I know it's less than 90, so that's where I'm starting with. So whenever I put my protractor up here and I get it in place and everything, it'll help me to know which set of numbers to look at. Okay, now there's a little thing here that I've used for several years to help kids to know how to use protractors. And so the first thing is to know on an angle is that this point right here is called a vertex, and that these two rays are called sides. Then on your protractor, you've got several things going on here. You have all these degree measurements, and you can see it starts from 0 and it counts all the way up to 180. 180 is a straight angle, so we count from 0 to 180 in both directions. Okay, so the first thing that's going to happen, and there's two things that you have to do to make this work. There's two things that have to be lined up. The first thing is that on your protractor there is a dot, basically. Okay, there's a dot right here on your protractor. And then there's a dot on your angle. So you have two dots. And that's the first thing, is that it has to be dot to dot. That's the first thing to know, is that you have to have dot to dot. So that dot to this dot. So like this. Let me zoom in a little better. So that dot on the paper has to be matched up to this dot on the protractor, just like that. Okay? So that's good, but that's only the first half. The other thing that has to be considered is this second part right here, and it is line to line. So on your paper, you have this line, you have this ray right here. And on your protractor, there's a line right here. And so that line on the paper needs to be matched up to the line on the protractor. And so I go dot to dot, just like that. And then I'm going to go line to line. So I've got the dots matched up. I've got the lines matched up. Okay, just like that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the numbers. Now, before I even start looking at those numbers, I want to remember that we talked about the fact that this is an acute angle. So I know it's an acute angle. I know it's less than 90. So where this line comes out through here, it goes past two sets of numbers. It goes past 30 and 40, and it goes past 140 and 150. And so I ask myself the question this, an acute angle. Does an acute angle deal with numbers that are 140 to 150? And the answer is no. Acute angles do not go that big. So since I'm talking about an acute angle, I know it's not the bigger set of numbers. I know it's the smaller set of numbers here, because the acute angles do deal with angles that are between 30 and 40. Just zoom into where it's going right here. Okay, So here's 30, here's 40, and you can see that this line goes somewhere between 30 and 40. And so I know my answer is somewhere between 30 degrees and 40 degrees. And so what I'm gonna do is just count here. Start at 30, we have 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And really this one's kind of between 35 and 36. So, and this is not exact, of course, but it could go either way, honestly, on that. It may be just a tiny bit closer to 35. So we'll say that this angle is 35 degrees. Okay, second angle. Now again, as I look at this angle, go back to this, and I try to decide, okay, which one of these does that look like? Which one matches more closely to this? And it is this. It's an obtuse angle. This is obviously obtuse. It's bigger than 90 for sure. So before I even put the protractor, up there, I know that this is an obtuse angle. As I go to put the protractor on, it's dot to dot and line to line. So I'm gonna get those matched up. Okay, dot to dot, line to line. And now I'm looking at this line over here and seeing where that hits. Okay, now we said that this angle is an obtuse angle, so that means it's bigger than 90. So in this case, I know obtuse angles do not deal with angles that are 30 or 40 degrees. It does not. It deals with angles bigger than that. So the 30 and the 40 do not apply in this case. It's the 140 and 150 that apply. Now, a common mistake that people make is this, is they see 150 and then they start counting 151, 152, 153. But that's not the right way to count this, because this line right here is between 140 and 150. And if you counted to 153, 153 is not between 140 and 150. So pay attention for that, because that is a common mistake. So my number that I'm looking for here is somewhere between 140 and 150. It's less than 150, but more than 140. So I'm going to count up 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147. Or if I wanted to count down, we have 150, 149, 148, 147. So this angle is about 147 degrees. Okay, the next one. Now I just want you to think before I say it, what type of angle is this? Is it right, acute, or obtuse? And it's an acute angle. It's less than 90, okay? So I know that the numbers I'm looking at are gonna be the numbers less than 90. All right, so I'm gonna go dot to dot and line to line. And let me move this where you can see it. All right, so something about like that. So I want you to look at that and kind of estimate where you think it's gonna, what number that's at. Okay, so it's not the 120 or 130. We said this is acute. Acute angles are not between 120 and 130, so those two do not apply. It's the fit between 50 and 60 that we're talking about here. So it's going to be somewhere a little bit less than 60, so it's like 59, about 58 degrees. Or if you count it up, it'd be 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58 degrees. Okay, on this angle, now on this one, just checking it, and you can see the way I drew this on the computer. This is exactly 90 degrees. This is a right angle right here. Okay, then on the last one that I've got here, it's kind of weird. It's going up and down. And so the way to do it is just to turn it on its side. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go dot to dot and line to line. Now this is definitely an acute angle. Forgot to say that, but it's definitely acute. It's less than 90. Okay, and so it's definitely not the 160 to 170, it's between 10 and 20. So it's 10, 11, 12, about 13 degrees. There's several things that you do have to consider when you're using a protractor, but if you practice it a little bit, just get a cheap protractor, just take a straight edge like this and just make a line like this, put a dot like that, draw another line like this. And then from there, you can just draw as many angles as you want and just practice measuring. Just put that on there. Let's see how big this angle is that I just drew. Okay, dot to dot, line to line, and it looks like it hits about 30, between 30 and 40. This is acute. It hits right between 30 and 40, and it looks like it's 31, 32, 33, about 34 degrees. And so just do that. Just take a straight edge. And just practice. Just keep on practice. This is an obtuse angle I just drew. And it is going to be between 140 and 150. And it looks like it's about 141, 2, 3. About 143 degrees here. There you go. That's how you measure angles with a protractor.